The Little Mermaid has been my favorite animated movie since I can remember, but recently it has been the target of a lot of criticism in regards to the way it handles gender roles. But as a fan of the movie and a film student, I have to highly disagree with most of the criticism the film has been getting. So in this video I'm going to try to give my own perspective on the subject. I agree that media should be analyzed and deconstructed because it does influence social norms. But when you start ignoring the context of the story, the time the film was made, and even entire scenes, the argument automatically loses validity and become convenient distortions to promote an agenda. One of the main criticisms the film gets is towards the main character Ariel. They say that she's selfish, that she changes for a man, that she doesn't learn anything, and the list goes on, making it seem that Ariel is a horrible person, or a mermaid, and an awful influence for little girls. But if you look at the context of the story, you'll see that all of the choices that she makes are understandable, even though they're not necessarily the best ones. See, Ariel is a 16-year-old teenager fascinated by the human world, but she's repressed by her father and prohibited from going up to the surface, because he deems humans to be dangerous and savage. But Ariel doesn't see it that way. From the moment we see her for the first time up to the minute 20, when she meets Prince Eric for the first time, it is established that she's fascinated by the human world, and that her relationship with her father is problematic because of this. She even dedicates an entire song about longing to be human and be part of their world. Hence the name of the song, Part of Your World, even though it's supposed to be called Part of Their World because that's the phrase that she says in the song, and she hasn't met Prince Eric yet to be referring to someone specifically. Yeah, but after she meets him, isn't that the turning point where she decides to make a contract with Ursula and to become human? No. After she meets him, all she does is wander around daydreaming, like a usual teenager with a crush. People try to make it seem like Ariel is the one who decides to make a contract, and Ursula just agrees with it, when it's not the case at all. The only plan that she does is this.
Stop talking crazy!
I gotta see him again. Tonight. Scuttle knows where he lives.
Ariel, please! Will you get your head out of the clouds and back in the water where it belongs?
I'll swim up to his castle. Then Flounder will splash around to get his attention, and then
Down
we'll go...
here is your home.
Yeah, that's the only thing mentioned about doing something to get to know him better. And it isn't even well thought out. Okay, but signing a contract with a sea witch isn't well thought out either, sure, but there's a lot to take in consideration onto why that ended up happening, and it all starts in these scenes that SJWs and BuzzFeed always ignore, which is the destruction of Ariel's treasures. Triton finds out about her interactions with humans, and he goes up to her. They have an argument, and she accidentally spills out that she loves him. By the way, if you have something against the idea of love at first sight in this film, remember that it was released in 1989 and was the first fairy tale Disney had ever done since Sleeping Beauty, 30 years prior. So at the time, love at first sight was still a believable thing in the Disney universe, and was the only aspect that was reminiscent of the Disney fairy tale format. Other than that, this film departs a lot from what had been seen before. It's too much entitlement to demand a movie released in 1989 to promote exactly your agenda in 2017, or whatever year you are. Anyway, so Triton destroys everything Ariel has, and even though he felt bad, he still leaves her there, alone. That's when Ursula comes into play through her minions, who pursue Ariel in her most vulnerable state, when she's sad, angry, and too stressed to think clearly. And this brings me to another aspect of the film, Ursula. Some people say that she's a strong, independent woman who was able to make a name for herself, and doesn't conform to societal norms like beauty standards and stuff. In fact, there's a website listing 7 ways the Little Mermaid is actually quite sexist, and it sums up all the bullshit this movie has been getting. Let's say number 6, where it talks more directly about Ursula. Sure, Ursula has her evil moments. Every story needs a bad guy. But for the most part, Ursula embodies feminist ideals. She's a strong woman who made a name and career for herself without the help of a man. She's loud, she speaks her mind, she's strong, independent, and knows how to get what she wants. She's confident and doesn't conform to what society expects of a woman. Reminds us why she's a villain again? Ain't nothing wrong with those traits. Seriously? She takes advantage of a teenager just so she could overthrow her father. Is this knowing how to get what you want? Y'all just making stuff up just to have something to complain about. And what about confident? She's not confident. She's complaining about her situation the entire movie. It's the reason she wants to do what she's doing in the first place. And if making a name for herself is being banished from the palace because she did something horrible, then that's the only way these statements make sense. Because the name that she made for herself is literally the Sea Witch. And another thing. Every time people try to criticize this film about sexism, they bring up parts of the song Poor Unfortunate Souls, which is a song that Ursula sings trying to convince Ariel onto doing what she wants her to do. they try to paint a picture as if Ariel was the one who decided to do the contract. But since the beginning of the movie, it is shown that Ursula was stalking her in order to use her. She literally says that to the screen. Ursula is the one who goes after Ariel. She doesn't embody feminist ideals. In fact, everything that's sexist about this film comes out of her mouth. Other than that, it's just a story about a young woman who wants to pursue her dreams. A dream that has nothing to do with the love of a guy. The romance is only a tool used by the story to get what she wants, which is to be human. And she doesn't decide to give up her voice. The sea witch takes it just so it would be harder for her to get the prince's kiss, and thus failing the deal, becoming this thing, and overthrowing her father. There's also the claim that Ariel only lives between the interests of two men, her father and her crush. That she has to make a choice on whether she'll live under the rules of her father or pursue her true love. But Ariel is always fighting against being told what to do. She doesn't want to live the life her father wants her to live. And in regards to Prince Eric, he doesn't tell her what to do, ever. He admires her by who she is. There's no decision to be made there. She already knows what she wants, and it is the human society. And there's also another thing.
And enjoy the vintage Disney classic with an equally vintage message for today's young girls. Look pretty.
You gotta look your best.
So what the message is kind of sexist. Girls don't need brain cells just because seashells. Also don't be fat, but you'll ignore that cause it's
The movie never claims beauty is important. At all. It's only mentioned once by Sebastian because they're on a hurry to get their part of the contract done soon, so they won't have to face the awful consequences. Eric isn't in love for her beauty, not even for her voice, or because she saved him. Because he just doesn't know it was her. He falls in love for her because of her personality. Looks help, but tell me a situation when it doesn't. He even gives up on marrying the one who saved him to be with Ariel, ironically. Which leads me to Kiss the Girl is a song about not asking for consent. I don't think it's a song about consent at all. They're just trying to make him make a move. It takes two to tango, and he's not collaborating. What is Ariel supposed to do? Hop on his lap? She's already trying to take advantage of every opportunity, but he backs away. She's not there clueless and waiting. The fish know what are the consequences of not having the kiss, and they're trying to rush. As bad as it sounds. And Ariel is on it as well. I think this is a part where the context of the story is also being taken out of consideration, but the movie has to be analyzed as a whole. Because if not, the arguments are bound to be invalid like the ones in regards to this film. And now the last thing that I want to address.
The story of The Little Mermaid isn't Ariel's. Not really, because she doesn't really change. She doesn't learn anything. The story has more in common with Finding Nemo, and in that case it's really King Triton's story, how he grew and changed, learned to be less racist, and also to let his daughter go.
She does learn, even though there isn't much for her to learn to begin with because she wasn't on the wrong side. She was just following her heart. Her father, on the other hand, was the one who needed to change his perspectives. He's the one who caused all the drama indirectly anyway. Her love for the human world came from longing for knowledge, and Triton's prejudice came from the generalization of an entire group of people based off of the actions of few, while overlooking the damage being done under the sea, seeing how Ursula was able to make a contract putting his entire kingdom in danger. When Eric saves Ariel, and consequently the entire ocean, he proves that not all humans are bad, because he sacrificed himself for his daughter and did something that Triton himself wasn't able to do. Triton also learns from Ariel's mistakes as well. Had he not been so harsh, he wouldn't have put his daughter in such a distress to the point where she could be taken advantage of, putting him and the entire kingdom at risk. I also think that Ariel shows responsibility for her actions because she didn't know Ursula had bigger plans other than turning her into seaweed. When she finds out what Ursula wanted all along, she attacks her and tries to fight. She was angry for what had happened to her father and for the fact that Ursula had used her to destroy her family. She wouldn't have gotten anywhere, but it shows that she did learn something. A person doesn't come out of a situation like this without a lesson. It's not super clear and in your face, but I prefer it that way. It feels much more natural and subtle. In the end, The Little Mermaid is a movie about a strong-willed girl who couldn't be held down. She's adventurous, she's passionate, and she's the one who doesn't conform to societal norms if they go against her way of being, and doesn't accept being told what to do by the men around her, or anyone for that matter. They are the ones who have to learn to accept her the way she is, and the only character who spills out the actual sexism goes down with it. And in this regard, I think The Little Mermaid is a very feminist movie.